What if I told you that your habit of saying yes might be the very thing holding you back? Sounds counterintuitive, right? But here's the deal. Constantly agreeing to everything isn't just exhausting, it's costing you your health, happiness, and sense of self. Whether it's taking on extra work, bending over backward for friends, or just avoiding conflict at all costs, every little yes chips away at your peace of mind. And let's not sugarcoat it, it's a burden you shouldn't have to carry. Think about it, how often have you said yes when you really meant no? Maybe it's agreeing to host a family dinner when your to-do list is already sky-high, or taking on another project at work because you're afraid to disappoint. In the moment, it feels easier to go along with it. But later, when you're drained, resentful, and overwhelmed, the real cost becomes clear. You're sacrificing your health, your time, and your emotional well-being, all for the sake of keeping the peace. And here's the kicker, being overly agreeable doesn't even guarantee stronger relationships. In fact, it often does the opposite, breeding resentment and unhealthy dynamics that leave you feeling even more isolated. But there's good news, you can break free. By the end of this, you'll learn how to set boundaries that don't just protect your energy but actually strengthen your connections. Ever felt like you're running on empty, always trying to keep everyone happy? People-pleasing might seem harmless at first, it's just saying yes, right? But over time, it's like trying to fill everyone else's cup while yours stays bone dry. Imagine agreeing to a last-minute work project even though you were counting on a quiet evening to recharge. That sacrifice? It chips away at your energy, leaving you worn out and resentful. And trust me, no one thrives when they're stuck in that cycle. Here's the kicker, every time you say yes, when you mean no, you're teaching yourself that your own needs don't matter. Over time, this pattern erodes your self-worth like waves carving into rock. You might catch yourself wondering, who am I even doing this for? And guess what? You're not alone. Research shows that 60% of people who struggle with low self-esteem also grapple with chronic overcommitment. It's a silent epidemic that too many ignore. Think about Sarah, a young mom who always puts others first, volunteering at school, covering shifts for coworkers, and cooking dinner for her in-laws every Sunday. She's exhausted, but she smiles through it because saying no feels selfish. The result? She's too drained to spend meaningful time with her own kids or care for her own health. It's a trade-off that no one wins. Can you see yourself in her shoes? The truth is, people-pleasing doesn't just drain your energy, it robs you of the life you deserve. What if instead of stretching yourself thin, you channeled that energy into your own well-being? You could build stronger immunity with an active lifestyle, improve your sleep with mindfulness techniques, and protect your health for the long haul. But here's the question, how do you reclaim your time without feeling guilty? That's where boundaries come in, and trust me, they're more powerful than you think. Ever feel like you're losing yourself, piece by piece? It happens so subtly. At first, it's skipping your favorite gym class to help a friend. Then, it's agreeing to a dinner menu that clashes with your health goals because you don't want to seem difficult. Over time, these small compromises snowball into a bigger problem, you start forgetting what you want. It's like staring into a mirror and not recognizing the person looking back. When you're constantly putting others' needs first, your personal values can take a back seat. Let's say you value a healthy, balanced lifestyle, nutritious meals, regular exercise, and mindfulness practices to reduce stress. But if you're always adjusting to accommodate others, those values might slip. Studies show that 70% of people who prioritize external harmony over personal goals report feeling disconnected from their true selves. That disconnection? It doesn't just hurt emotionally, it impacts your physical health too. Take Mike, for example, a guy who used to be passionate about running marathons and eating clean. But after years of saying yes to every work event and every late-night request, he traded his sneakers for endless meetings and fast food. His health started to decline, and he felt stuck in a life that didn't feel like his own. It wasn't just about the missed runs, it was about losing the joy that came with being true to himself. But here's the thing, reclaiming your identity isn't about being selfish. It's about recognizing that your values matter just as much as anyone else's. What if you started small, by carving out just 30 minutes a day for something that lights you up? Maybe it's preparing a healthy meal or diving into a hobby that makes you feel alive again. And once you find that spark, you'll see how it can grow into something much bigger. But how does this tie into your relationships? Funny you should ask, let's explore that next. Have you ever felt like the weight of the world is on your shoulders because you just can't say no? It's exhausting, right? Constantly overcommitting leads to stress that builds up like steam in a pressure cooker, ready to explode. Suppressing your emotions to avoid conflict might seem like the easier choice in the moment, but it creates a mental tug-of-war. The result? Anxiety, burnout, and a feeling like you're barely keeping your head above water. Psychologists often compare this to emotional debt. You keep borrowing energy from yourself without paying it back. Imagine saying yes to helping a coworker with their project, even when you're swamped with your own deadlines. Sure, you get through it, but at the cost of your peace of mind. Did you know that chronic stress can increase your risk of heart disease by up to 40%? Your mental health isn't just a side effect here, it's a critical part of your overall well-being. Let's think about Jenna, a high achiever who juggled her career, family, and social life like a pro, or so it seemed. Inside, she was unraveling. Her constant yes routine led to sleepless nights, a short temper, and eventually a panic attack that made her question everything. What finally helped? Simple but powerful changes, practicing mindfulness, journaling her feelings, and cutting back on commitments. She didn't just bounce back, she thrived because she learned to prioritize her mental health. Here's the truth, when you take care of your mind, your entire life shifts. Imagine a day where you feel calm, in control, and genuinely happy, no racing thoughts, no lingering resentment. Sounds pretty good, right? But here's the tricky part, how do you balance relationships without letting stress creep back in? We're about to uncover the key to that next. It's ironic, isn't it? The very thing you're doing to keep your relationships intact, saying yes to everything, can be the thing that tears them apart. When you overextend yourself for others, resentment has a sneaky way of creeping in. Maybe it's agreeing to babysit again, even though you had plans for self-care. Or picking up a friend's slack at work, knowing they won't return the favor. Over time, these one-sided dynamics can turn into emotional landmines. Here's the kicker, constantly prioritizing others can unintentionally teach them to take you for granted. Think about it, when was the last time someone said, "Hey, you've done so much for me. Let me return the favor?" If you can't remember, you're not alone. Studies show that people-pleasers often attract individuals who unconsciously exploit their kindness, leading to unhealthy power imbalances. And let's be real, that's no foundation for a strong, meaningful connection. Picture this, Alex, a go-to person in his friend group, always showed up, whether it was lending money, offering rides, or hosting get-togethers. But when he needed support during a tough time, his phone stayed silent. That hurt ran deep, and it wasn't just about his friends. Alex realized he had trained them to expect his yes, without question, and it was time to reset those expectations. The good news? Relationships don't have to crumble under this weight. Setting boundaries can actually strengthen them, creating mutual respect and understanding. Instead of saying yes out of guilt, what if you communicated your limits with kindness and honesty? It might feel awkward at first, but trust me, the payoff is worth it. And here's the exciting part, boundaries don't just protect your relationships, they transform your life. Ready to find out how? Ever hear the phrase, good fences make good neighbors? It's not just about property lines, it's about life. Setting boundaries is like building a fence that protects your time, energy, and emotional well-being. Saying no isn't selfish, it's self-care. Imagine declining a weekend event because you need to rest, or turning down extra work so you can focus on your health. Those simple no's open the door to a healthier, more balanced life. But let's face it, saying no can feel like walking a tightrope, especially if you're used to saying yes to avoid conflict. Here's the trick, it's all about how you frame it. Instead of flat-out refusal, try saying, "I'd love to help, but I don't have the bandwidth right now." It's honest, kind, and still puts you in control. Experts say that practicing this kind of assertive communication can reduce stress levels by up to 30%. That's a game changer for your well-being. Take Lisa, for example. She used to be the queen of overcommitment, work, family, friends, you name it. Then, she started small, saying no to coffee dates when she needed a breather and carving out an hour every evening for yoga and meditation. At first, it felt strange, even guilt-inducing. But over time, her relationships improved because she was showing up as her best self, not a drained version of who she wanted to be. Boundaries don't just protect your energy, they also attract healthier dynamics and authentic connections. When you honor your own needs, you inspire others to do the same. Imagine a life where you wake up feeling refreshed, your schedule reflects your priorities, and your relationships thrive because they're built on mutual respect. Sounds amazing, right? But here's the real question, how do you start applying these lessons right now? That's where things get really exciting. Remember how exhausting it felt to constantly say yes, even when it was draining every ounce of your energy? Now, you've got the tools to flip the script. Boundaries aren't just about protecting your time, they're about reclaiming your power and redefining your relationships. Imagine how it would feel to wake up energized, knowing your commitments align with your priorities, not someone else's. That's the life you deserve, and it starts today. So, what's stopping you? Take a moment to reflect. Where in your life do you need to set that first boundary? Maybe it's saying no to an unnecessary meeting, or carving out time for mindfulness and self-care. Start small, but start now. Each step will bring you closer to a life filled with balance, health, and authentic connections. And hey, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to learn about creating a life that prioritizes your well-being without guilt. So don't stop here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss tips that could truly transform your health and happiness for good. Your journey to a healthier, more balanced life starts here. Are you ready to take that next step?